All right, Chelsea fans, welcome back to another episode. That's right, of the London is Blue podcast. Hopefully, your favorite Chelsea podcast out there and a part of the Men in Blazers Media Network. Dan, one of your hosts here, along with our good friend Sam, CFC Central. We're going to be breaking down Ajax in this match preview for Chelsea's next match in the Champions League. That's right. The team from the Eredivisie is going to have hopefully a hard time against our beloved Blues in this matchup, but we're going to be taking a look and breaking down exactly what's been going well or not well for this team at the moment. And that involves strengths and weaknesses. That involves a little bit of what questions Enzo Maresca is going to have to answer as he sets up for this game. Because again, he's not banned for this game. No more red cards, so hopefully, and an opportunity for him to just, enforce his will from the touchline for this team. But Sam, as we head into this match, I think everybody just wants to, again, wish you a wonderful bit of congratulations after your wedding this past weekend.
Thank you so much, Dan, and to everybody else who's been leaving some really, really kind messages on the YouTube channel as well as on X and other social media platforms. It's been, yes, wonderful to be able to, after a long, long time of long distance relationship, to actually have the person in the same room as you. So yes, lots of readjusting, realigning, and also from me to everybody else out there, a very happy Diwali. So lots of festive cheer and love and blessings to everybody listening in. So it's been a few important weeks for me, Dan. So hopefully it'll be culminating in another big win. And like you said, no more red cards. That would be a good way to go.
Do you think Chelsea can make it out of this game without a red card? Just yes or no question. Do you think it's just like now a part of our DNA? We're going to keep on winning if we get these red cards, so we just got to keep on doing it?
I mean, I hope Maresca isn't streaking down, celebrating, because I don't think scoring against this Ajax would probably give him that level of enthusiasm. But yeah, I'm really, really hoping there's not, some really enthusiastic bench player who comes on and says, I have to make an impression, and then boom, two-footed tackle and out of the game. So just keep everything on the down low, do your job and live to fight another day would be my advice to everybody, who's coming off the B team.
Well, it would be 4 wins in a row if Chelsea could get this one done after a couple of really strong performances, both in the league and then also against Benfica in the Champions League, to move us down this path here. But just taking it at the very top here, Sam, I mean, for a lot of people, they might not be as familiar with the players on this Ajax side. There are a significant amount, as you're just looking at the script here, of players out for both sides. But really, for this Ajax side, out of who they're missing, are there any ones you just want to call out directly as being very critical misses for this Ajax team?
There's a lot of them, to be honest. Kasper Dolberg is somebody who's, I don't know how important he is in the current context of the league team, but he has been one of the better players out there. So I think he's definitely, in terms of experience, in terms of coming up against a side like Chelsea, would have added a lot. Branko van den Boomen, I actually watched a lot of him in League 1 when he was on the top of the creativity charts. He also is a big miss. Owen Vindal is one of their starting fullbacks, very attacking from the left-hand side and quite key to one of their key players, key attackers functioning and getting the kind of freedom and support that he needs. So him not being absent will be, I would say, defensively a small miss, but more likely going to be a bigger miss in an attacking sense. So he's out. First choice centre back Ko Itakura is also out, so that's a big miss. First choice number 6 Yuri Reguer is also out, so I would say 4 or 5 first choice players out. And most importantly, Dan, Mika Götze, who's their wonder kid on the left wing, also a doubt for this one. So if he's missing, then God save Ajax. I don't see them, I don't give them a prayer in this game, to be honest. So lots and lots of misses and no depth to allow any kind of facilitation there.
Well, that is, I guess, unfortunate for them, but maybe fortunate for us in terms of being able to take on a weakened Ajax side. But look, we've got plenty more that we're going to be talking about in this one. We're going to talk about the style of play, the strengths and weaknesses of this team, but we're going to do that after our first ad break. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, Sam, can you give us a little bit of an introduction as to the state of Ajax right now, because I think there's been some changes there in terms of some hierarchical changes that did not go down well with the fans. So there's some off the pitch type of issues, and then that also maybe has translated to some challenges on the pitch.
Yeah, I just would like to take the opportunity here to read out some of the comments I saw from Ajax fans in a Reddit forum when the game was 2-0 against AZ Alkmaar, the last game. And the first one says, don't often call off a match, but when you're down 0-2 and you take out your only creative player, you really screw up. What is this club doing? The second one says, later Bunida, who's a midfielder, came in, which softened the blow a tiny bit, although he had to play on the left because in the middle, we obviously need Davy Klaassen, who's the most experienced midfielder. We need Davy Klaassen to do a few Sudoku puzzles. Heitinger said in the post-match interview when asked about the substitution of their most creative player, Oscar Glauc, we wanted to approach the midfield differently with Bunida. He forgot that he took Glauc off for a different player and Bunida only came about 10 minutes later. Somebody else says, I think we're being a bit harsh on Heitinger and Ajax today. I mean, we did show some teeth in the first 16 seconds of this game. The last one says Heitinger is the type of coach who has his tactics written down on a piece of paper 2 days in advance and he doesn't deviate from it. So, straight from the horse's mouth, this is what Ajax fans feel about their tactician. On the back end of it, I think hierarchy has a big, big part to play in it. Sort of like the Marinakis situation where they fired who was effectively a pretty good, solid coach in Francisco Farioli, who was averaging about 2 points a game in the league. And they've gotten Heitinger, who's been in charge of this side before, is an ex-Dutch international, which is a big thing at Ajax in terms of picking their coaches. And he's averaging less than half in terms of points per game. So there's a lot of discontent that you fired a good manager to get in a yes man. There's also injuries. There's also a lot of squad stuff that is going wrong. So it's just chaos at the back end and not quite unlike the Nottingham Forest situation. So fans are upset, and Heitinger had to deny that he was under pressure in terms of getting fired from his job after a 4-0 hiding from Marseille. So it's a big, big pressure situation from him, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's another sacking at the end of this game.
Oh, that would not. That'd be a really weird thing to say. How many managers have Chelsea helped sack this season in terms of it being their last game? I guess it'd be better than us on the opposite side having sacked multiple managers in a season. So sliding doors moments as they were in Chelsea years of past. But can you walk me through just maybe a little bit more about like what we should expect from how they're playing, how they're executing currently, so we have an understanding of how we play, how they play, and start to map the two?
Yeah, I think we have to start with the basic system formation. So, he uses a fluid 4-3-3, but when I say fluid, it's less controlled rotations and more water out of a exploding fire hydrant kind of situation. And no control whatsoever, just, lots of force in one direction, no control, no sort of tempering and balancing or anything of the sort. Ajax, they're a very aggressive, high pressing approach, which is the philosophy and the identity of the club. And they look to squeeze the opposition press and use sheer numbers to create openings after they won the ball. Out of possession, they go very heavily man to man. So you will often see no clear out of possession 4-4-2, 4-5-1, or any of the other sort. It'll be just players going after players, responsibility on every single player, and then the line will press up to try and push beyond the halfway line to accentuate that press. So very front foot team. And again, like I mentioned, the Ange parallels are very hard to shake off in terms of trying to get in that, the young side that is playing a Champions League game. You're trying to get them to do something that is sometimes foolhardy against a top tier opposition. So if they try to do it against us, I really think it could go either way. And based on watching against Marseille, where they were 3-0 down in the first half, they didn't change any structural stuff. They just went out with the high line again, trying to press harder. To their credit, they went from having one shot in the first half to having 12 in the second. So a lot more aggression, but so open on the break. And Marseille could have ended that game 6 or 7 up, and they were very lucky to escape just with a 4-0. So lots of open-ended stuff. Nico Jackson hat-trick kind of situations quite might open up in that situation. So that's something that you should definitely keep an eye out from a forward perspective. But his selections are quite inconsistent. They've been made infinitely tougher, like I said, because of the injuries. Up front is somebody Chelsea fans might know in Wout Weghorst. He's the former Dutch forward, former United centre forward who Messi sort of abused in the Argentina um, Netherlands game in the World Cup, saying "Que mira Bobo." He is going to be playing the number 9 position, quite a heavy presser. At one point in time in the Premier League, he had the most amount of pressures in a game, averaging about 35, which is extremely impressive. He's become a little older since then, but still quite formidable in that respect. Oscar Gluck, who's their number 10, has also played in the number 9 position. He as a false 9, he's played that against Marseille, so has had to switch up from time to time. On the left hand side, we talked about Mika Götz, who, if he does start, is a very all round wing threat, very direct dribbler, great step overs, high flair, has a surprisingly good eye for a long pass and good vision as well. So he's going to be, I think, electric from that left hand side. And like we mentioned, Windal is probably not going to be fit for this one, but whoever it is on the left hand side, when they bomb up, they offer a lot more support for Götze to take those unpredictable decisions. So he's definitely my man to watch for this one. On the right hand side, you've got Edvardsen and Berghaus, who are both sort of sharing duties. Berghaus is again a Dutch international. I don't know if he's retired, but was quite prominent in the Netherlands team a couple of years ago. Very nice left-footed player, nice eye for a pass, so kind of like a playmaker, right winger, sort of hybrid like Hakim Ziyech, maybe a lot less agile. So he's got a great shot on him long range wise as well. So he's going to drop in certain positions, and Heitinga allows both his wingers to go from wide positions to almost as deep as the double pivot in build up. And Berghaus in particular will pick up the ball in those midfield situations, turn around and try to hit balls behind the last line for runners. So he's going to be, in terms of a passing threat, probably the most dangerous guy in there. And again, like I said, long range shots have to be stopped. So that's the wing. That's the number 9 there. And Oscar Gluck, if they go for a 4-2-3-1, which they tried out against Ate Alkmaar, then you would probably expect Oscar Gluck to be somebody in the number 10 position. He's their high volume shooter. So he's not really a creative number 10, but somebody who is averaging 3.5 shots in the Eredivisie, which again, I should stress, Dan, very easy league to play in, horribly slow. So I wouldn't put too much stock in the numbers, but he's a good carrying threat. He will run at people. He will try to find passes in between lines, and when he gets an opportunity, he will shoot from behind the number 9. So that's the attack.
And then maybe just pushing further forward, then they have a midfield. I know that they are kind of injured there, and that's going to put them maybe in a little bit of a challenge situation too for kind of who they put together. I mean, is it safe to say like there's just so many parallels to the Nottingham Forest game and just like how this team is like constructed in and how Chelsea might find a way to work around or kind of force them to adapt to like our will, how we're going to imprint ourselves on the game?
Yeah, I think midfield will be quite decisive. We really don't know who's going to feature there after Enzo and Caicedo both didn't feature in the last game. So I think that's something that you could look to exploit, especially looking at the opposition, because like we mentioned, first choice number 6 is out, Yuri Reges. You've got 17-year-old Jordi Mokio, who's played. I think he's also featured for the Belgian international side, the senior side, and he plays a little bit like Lavia, but again, he's not really built out for this scale or magnitude of a game. So he's probably one to watch. I don't know if he starts, but he will be, I would say, somebody I would look to target if he does start in that 3-man midfield at the base of midfield. Heitinga plays David Klaassen. We talked about him doing Sudoku puzzles in midfield. A veteran, but since his days in the national team a few years ago, I think he's declined quite a bit. He's more of a passing threat again in that midfield, and the other side is a more industrious box to box threat in in Kenneth Taylor. I think he's going to be the arrives late inside the box, gets shots away, will try to get good, really, really good runs beyond the last line and try to get snapshots away as quickly as he can. So he's going to be somebody to watch from a movement perspective. So whoever it is in midfield that's straying on him has to do a lot of industrious shunting between both boxes and making sure that you're keeping with him at all times. So midfield in particular, I would say is definitely one to exploit that.
And then kind of continuing our look just at this team at this side, what about the defense in terms of how they play, how they set up?
Yeah, the one thing that we need to look at is definitely the fullbacks. So we mentioned about the left side being more dominant in terms of how they push up in Vindal, but he's not here, so that changes the dynamics a little bit. But in general, I would say Ajax like attacking via the wings rather than through the center. They've got some nice players in the middle who can give you some good through balls in behind, but most often than not, they will look to get the ball to Gertz, to on the other side, Berghaus, or whoever it is who starts to try and get the wingers up, to try and get fullbacks up. There are multiple opportunities that I've seen against Inter or against Marseille where both the fullback and the winger make simultaneous runs, like double runs on the right hand side, and offer like a double width kind of situation, so they both can interchange and get close to the box. So the wide channels will be quite interesting, and the fullbacks will be a big part of it. In the middle, we talked about one of their centre backs, Netakura, not being available. Bas is the other one who started, so that means Croatian Josip Sutalo might start in the center of defense. I've seen him play for the national team, I think, a couple of times, and he's quite decent. But the big one, I think, Dan, is the goalkeeper Jaros. He had a really, really bad game against Marseille, and I was hoping he would start because it looks like he just does not, I mean, has the reactions of a potted plant based on that one game, and got beaten on long range shots where he just reacted very, very slowly. So would have loved for him to start this one, but 41-year-old Remco Pasveer might start in his stead. And if you're playing a high line and you've got a 41-year-old goalkeeper at the back, then presents an entirely exciting world of possibilities to exploit.
And then maybe just as we kind of start to take a look at the ways that we will exploit this team, can you walk me through just like a couple of the weaknesses or things that you think that Enzo Maresca and team are going to be looking at as areas that Chelsea can really get some business done on the pitch?
Yeah, the first one I would say is that just the level of confidence that the backline and the central midfielders have is very, very fragile, and you can shatter it in n number of ways, to be honest. And a lot of mistakes have been made in possession, especially against high pressing, really good sides of the industry. So Marseille, for example, scored half their goals via errors from Ajax players, and there were stray passes from players like Klaassen. There were just really, really clumsy attempts to keep the ball under pressure. So I would say that if you're trying to get on the front foot and pushing them, Pasveer, for example, or even the back line, and keeping a close eye on Klaassen, who's not very mobile, then you can close those passing lanes, you can win the ball back, and from there, Ajax find it very difficult to put out fire. So I would say get high pressing attempts in, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are a couple of opportunities for us to win the ball back there and get some shots away. The second, we've talked about Klaassen. He's going to be a major liability out of possession. I think he lacks the recovery pace or the pressing ability to play the way Heitinga wants him to play, which is like aggressive, close down as soon as possible. You can evade him. If you get somebody crafty against him, then he's going to have a major, major issue. He's also very poor on transitions. So if you do get some breaks away, like Marseille did to get their fourth goal for Aubameyang, then I think there is going to be a major issue, especially on his side. So Chelsea should be targeting breaks on his particular side, especially with Garnacho, for example, get into the space between the centre back and between Heitinga if he plays, and then you could cause a lot of issues. The third one I think is very tactical, and man to man is something that was dismantled by Marseille quite easily. And the front three in Oba, in Igor Paixão, in Greenwood, they were regularly leaving their positions, and this was forcing their defenders to jump out of possession. And when you're already at the halfway line and you're jumping positions, then it becomes very, very difficult to try and stay tight to people. The first goal actually comes from Aubameyang dropping. the centre back following, and the line is near the halfway line then, and Oba pulls out a beautiful flick in behind, and Paixão gets 1v1 and finishes it off. And there were multiple opportunities for Marseille to get into that position where they can just run in behind. And that's what caused the major issues. I would say exploit the high line as much as possible. If the centre forward is dropping to receive, make sure whoever is on the wing, if you've got Pedro Neto, if you've got Estevao, if you've got Garnacho, for example, target those runs behind, go long as often as possible. You will get some change. So I think that's something that you have to look at. And the last one I'd say is that in 9 league games, Ajax have conceded 3 penalties already. So considering the pace of the Eredivisie, I wouldn't be surprised if 1v1 quality from our wingers leads to a lot more mishaps. So let's drive right into the on the ledge predictions here. Either a red card or a penalty, maybe not a bad call to make that.
Things to kind of keep in mind there. That would be again, it'd be very interesting if we had some red cards in this game. Hopefully they're not against us, so that would be a quick turn of fate, as it were. But look, we're going to take our last ad break. When we get back, we'll do a little bit of flipping the script, give Sam an opportunity to ask me a couple questions that he thinks Enzo Maresca is having to handle right now. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, Sam, talk to me. What do you think Enzo Maresca are the questions that he is pondering that you'd like to throw to me to try to come up with an answer here on the show?
Now, the first one would probably be the most logical question. You know that we have some major injury worries in terms of, Enzo's knee. We've got Caicedo playing one half. We've got Reece James to protect. No Joao Pedro. So how are you playing this game? Are you looking at Sunderland saying maybe that's the more important game? Or are you putting all your firepower from the first half right into Ajax and then basically saying we'll take it from there?
I think he's going to go hard for Ajax. I think he's really going to want this win, with the difference of being a top qualifier in the Champions League versus potentially having to play extra games, is something he would, if Chelsea can avoid, he would love to do so. And so considering that we know that Enzo is potentially not, in consideration, as Maresca's comments at the weekend, we know that players like Moises Caicedo got, a pretty decent rest and, got then an opportunity to get like a half of rest in the prior game. It does feel as if he's going to go with a pretty strong lineup in this one. So I would not be surprised if he goes extremely hard with this lineup and then tries to do a little what he did with the Nottingham Forest game against Sunderland. And maybe you see, someone like, Josh come in and, get an opportunity to start again at center back. That would be something I would view as a possibility. Particularly also, like, Malo Gusto can't play in the Premier League next weekend. So I would imagine someone like him, gets an opportunity to feature to the full extent that they're available, so that other players, maybe rotate around or rotate in. Agree, disagree, have a different view?
Well, I think I'm with you on that, and most importantly because Champions League wins are where the money is, and especially when you get one win under your belt, not only does it give you about, I don't know how much the money is, I think 1.72 million per win, and then obviously you get some really nice UEFA coefficient points which ensure that you're going to be in the Club World Cup whenever the next edition is going to be held. So every win is important, and we knew this when we talked about this in the preseason, that there cannot be any resting or rotation. So I completely on that with you. There are some interesting possibilities with Gusto, who I think could be a very interesting player should he start at the right back position. But then we also know that midfield is an issue. So a lot of pondering for Maresca to do. So I'm completely on that with you. But on that note, I would like to ask you, no Joao Pedro for this one. So what are you looking at in terms of that front four configuration in attack?
It does feel as if Mark Guiu might get some minutes here, which is interesting. I don't know if he's necessarily like the guy that I would go to try and make things work. Obviously, we know that we've seen Ty George get an opportunity kind of in the central spot as well. We've also seen in last season Pedro Neto play centrally, but obviously, he is a little bit more productive when we place him on the wings appropriately. So I'm guessing that Mark Guiu is going to get the center forward start, would be my guess for this one. Whether that means that we play someone like Garnacho and then Pedro Neto and then maybe like Estevao as the 10, or, you know, but Bonante might get another appearance at this point in time, given the, lack of availability for Joao Pedro and for Cole Palmer. Like, there is going to be some level of rotation there. Andre Santos could get another opportunity as well if if Enzo is not available. Like, that obviously changes the dynamic too. So I do think is it there's like this balance of Enzo Maresca is going to want to field the strongest side possible, but he also has a lot of his best players who potentially are not going to make it in this one. And so I think it's going to be a little bit of a cobbled together lineup where, if there are the strongest players available, like a Reece James, like a Marc Cucurella, on your fullbacks, like, you're going to play them in this one. Pedro Neto is definitely going to play in this one. Estevao will get an opportunity in this game. I just, without having, without having Joao Pedro available for this game, like, I think it forces the hand a little bit. And whether or not you like how Marco has played so far, like, I think he probably starts, would be my guess.
I think that's an interesting one. The only thing I probably have a little bit of doubt about is whether Pedro Neto starts this one. I think he did play quite a significant amount in the last game, and on virtue of the fittest and probably the best looking sharpness wise winger out there, he's the one. So I don't know whether him and Estevao, both the right wing options, get risked simultaneously. So I would say maybe Estevao starts. You've got Bonanote and in the center midfield position, center attacking midfield position, and then you've got probably Garnacho or Gittins is a toss up. And like you said, either Marquinhos or either Tyreek George. If Marquinhos is probably being eased into his minutes, then you know that if Joao Pedro is back the next game, you can probably play Gio as the center forward and give Joao Pedro a little bit of the position that he really wants to play. So I think that might factor in. But the good changes, like you said, have made themselves clear. Like Andre Santos was pulled off at halftime. So if he wants to play Andre in midfield, then he's got a position there. He can rest one of Enzo or Caicedo after a half, and then go with the other thing. So I think, like you said, there is a little bit of patchwork and a little bit of cobbling going on to try and get maybe a very strong side for 60 minutes. And I think that should be the aim. And if, Heidinger tries to get Ajax to play the way that he's been playing, and we deliver on our strengths, then I think this game should be over by 60 minutes.
Oh, that is an exciting thing in terms of, maybe that's an on the ledge prediction there in advance there that you're giving here. About the 60th minute, the game will be over, and Chelsea will have a cruise control to the end of it.
I've dropped a lot of them, to be honest. I dropped a penalty, a possible red card. I've dropped, my score prediction. Should we just straight go to score predictions and on the ledge, Dan? What are you thinking?
Oh, I guess we can go there now. I mean, if you're ready, I'm ready. We can go there.
Yes, absolutely. So would you like to do the honors, or should I go first?
Oof. Okay. So I do think it's a Chelsea win. I do think Ajax has been shipping some goals. So I think even with a little bit of a reformed lineup, that we will win. I go 2-0 in this one, and a rare clean sheet, which is exciting. And I think for a on the ledge prediction, I don't know what I've got here. Maybe a Marc Cucurella headed goal in for this one. In some way, shape, or form. I think that would be something I would like to see. I think the fullback play will be kind of interesting and crucial in this one. And I think you're going to need a couple of players to step up with just the rotation in the midfield, the rotation in our attack. I think you're looking for someone who has been dependable, has been reliable. And it would be, an opportunity for young Marc Cucurella to kind of get that first goal of the season as well.
I think those are very sound predictions to make. Cucurella headed against, I would say, a 41-year-old goalkeeper, also a sound one to make. But I again don't know whether he's going to play Cucurella there or just Jorel Hato comes in to give him a rest. So that'll be one to watch. But I completely agree. I would probably go with a 2+ scoreline. So I expect us to score 2 minimum. I was thinking more of like 3 or 4, but 2+ is, I think, on the safer side. So I would say maybe a 3-0. And my on the ledge predictions, we've gone with red card, probably a penalty. So one of those two. I also expect us to get a goal from outside the box. Like I predicted this twice this season, and both of them have come true. So I'm hoping another one comes true. And the third one, I'd probably say, I expect two of our four attackers to have at least two goal or assist contributions. So I'd go with that.
Things to kind of keep in mind, things to consider. I mean, that would be, again, I feel like, post wedding, you're owed some on the ledge predictions coming good, and we'd love for a few more to make that happen. But look, Chelsea, Ajax, quick turn, quick game. We'll be back with a match review the day after the game. We'll be there with our Sunderland match preview later in the week. And then following week, we'll be back with a Sunderland match review, as well as a bunch of other podcast episodes for you as well. So don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notified on YouTube when we drop new content. Also, in the comments, continue to wish Sam wonderful celebratory messages as relates to the nuptials there. And we'd love for you to get involved in our free weekly newsletter, Lisbon Dispatch, that Sam writes as well. You should sign up for it. Links in the description. You can get involved in our trip to London as well. We'll be going over during the holiday period, post-Christmas, and just after New Year's to watch a couple of games there. Got links in the subscription there too. And you can get involved with leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's always appreciated and helps people find the program. And last but not least, if you want to get involved in our wonderful community, we've got a Discord as well that you can get involved in, free or paid capacity. So get involved, get stuck in. But that's going to do it for this episode. So thank you so much for listening. Until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep blue flag flying high.